Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie. I'm a physiotherapist currently working at Copeman here in Vancouver. Today is the third part of the Couch Ergonomics series, and I'm going to run through some really simple static stretches that can help muscles that are commonly tight from either standing or sitting for too long. These exercises can be done sort of in the middle of your workday, sort of at a lunch break, or at the end of your day when you're done working and your body feels quite tight. So let's get into it. Now I will say that there are tons of different ways to stretch out common muscles like our hamstrings or our glutes. And so the reason why I'm choosing these specific ones is because number one, I feel like in my practice, these stretches really target the muscles that I'm looking for. And two, they're easy to hold. Now in terms of current evidence, in terms of static stretching, which is sort of, holding a stretch for a period of time, the real evidence is longer is better. So the dosage I recommend for any of these stretches would be trying to hold it for a minute to 2 minutes. So you can imagine if you're doing a stretch where you really have to try to grab your leg and pull it back, it's going to be really hard to hold for this duration, which is why, again, most of my stretches that I'm going to show today are sort of passive. You're usually laying down or it's an easy position to get into. Okay, let's show you the first one. So what we're first going to review today is a great, really simple hamstring stretch, a glute stretch more specifically into your piriformis, as well as another glute stretch that kind of really gets into that lateral line of our hip and all feel quite good. So my yoga mat is here against my wall, and now again, the distance that your bum can be away from the wall depends on how flexible you are. So if you're quite a bendy person, you can have your bum right up against the wall. If you're not that flexible, the further you are, the easier these will be. So for me, I'm about a palm's distance away. And we're going to come here, legs up the wall. So the very first one is basically, we're just going to think about straightening our knees into the wall and again getting a good hamstring stretch. The second one is going to be into the piriformis. So we're going to, again, come have our heel here. So what we're trying to make is a figure four. You can, with your hand, put some pressure here. Now my knee feels quite comfortable here, but not everyone's knee can do this. So again, it's always an option to have the knee a little bit higher. As well as, I'll bring this back down here, to deepen this stretch, you can actually bend the top knee down. This is a really, really, really big stretch this way. And then the third one is actually going to be crossing the leg over your body. Again, have it rest, have your toe rest on the wall. The key with this one is we're keeping the opposite hip. So this is my right leg. My right hip is staying on the mat. I'm not kind of coming into a roll this way. We're keeping our pelvis on the mat, and again, a big, huge stretch through our glutes and through the lateral part of our quad. And again, dosage for these all are about, for a hold, 1 minute is great, 2 would be better. In terms of static neck stretches, I typically give these with the caveat being, if you go too deep and hold for too long, you're going to maybe have some neck pain. So again, these ones is when you go into the range, just go to your middle to moderate range and hold that there for a long load duration. That's better than sort of cranking your neck into a really far extreme range of motion and then having neck pain. So the two I commonly give are the most commonly tight muscles in your neck. Your first is your upper fiber trap. So we do kind of want to, with this hand, again, I'll stretch this side, is sort of either put it behind our back, sit on our hand, but sort of not have our shoulder up this way. So I usually just say, again, ear down to the side. So for my range, I can get way further, but that's quite tight on me and a little bit sore. So I'm going to come to about half my range and just feel a nice gentle pull through here. Again, no tingling, no numbness, anything like that. Hold for a minute. And the other one is going to be taking my chin and going down to my opposite armpit. So this one, again, really tucking my chin down. This is for a common muscle that we see that's quite tight. It's called your Levator Scapulae. If you want a little bit extra, you can actually take your hand and give yourself a little bit of overpressure through there. And you're going to hold that again for about 1 minute if you can. Those are two muscles that are very commonly tight in the neck, especially if we're working from a not so great location. So you can give those a try throughout your day. Another stretch I like to show people is a great foam roller chest opener. It's a very common exercise that you see. And it's my favorite because I love passive stretches. So what you're going to basically do is lay on the roller, have your arms out to the side, kind of like you're a T. And again, you can have the arms a little bit lower if that feels good to you as well. So the roller is here. You're going to come put your bum up onto this roller. You're going to lay down like this. And then again, arms. So I like to start at about 45 degrees. See how that feels. And then again, if you want a deeper stretch, you can move your arms up a little bit more. But you're watching for is that your ribs aren't kind of splaying up. And again, you're not getting any tingling or numbness into your hands. It's just meant to be open. Now, for some people, this might be a huge stretch for them. So if you need to, you could have your arms raised up onto a pillow or something under your hands to make the stretch a little bit less intense if you need to. And for this one, I like to hang out in this one for 1, 2, 3 full minutes. It's a great opener for the chest, which is, again, we spend so much time curled forward. The final stretches I'm going to show today are first of all, a hip flexor stretch, and then secondly, a combination hip flexor and quad stretch. So our hip flexors are muscles that run in the front of our hips, and they are commonly very, very, very tight if we've been sitting for too long. So if anyone has any experience with more classic hip flexor stretches, usually they involve a lunge and you're leaning and you're reaching with your arm up. This one is very simple, and it more has to do with a pelvic tilt or where your pelvis is. So we'll go over that first. So in terms of, if we imagine our pelvis as a bowl, so I'll come to the side here. So what we can do is that if we imagine our pelvis as a bowl, the bowl can tip backwards or forwards. So if we imagine we tip the bowl frontwards, we're going to be arching our back and sticking our bum out. Now the opposite is going to be tilting our pelvis backwards. So we're kind of tucking our tail under and shortening here. So what we want to do is we want to maintain this, what we call a posterior pelvic tilt, while we have a leg back. So whichever hip you want to stretch, you take the one you want to stretch, you bring it back into a slight staggered stance. And then what you're going to do is, again, you're going to tuck your tail and come into that posterior pelvic tilt. And now you should feel a big, huge stretch immediately right into the front of your hip. And if you want to get a little bit more, you can squeeze your bum or your glute here, and that gives yourself a little bit more. So again, best thing with this guy is it's quite easy to get into. It's not a hard position for your knees. And again, the dosage is holding for about a minute. Now, to combo that with a quad stretch as well, is you can have your hand to support you, bring your leg back depending on your knee flexibility. And again, this is the standard quad stretch we see, but then what we can do is we can add in that pelvic tilt, and oh boy, that provides way more of a stretch through the very top of our quad, as well as into our hamstring. So this one's a little bit harder to hold for as long, but again, do your best, and this will be a really nice front of the quad stretch and into your hip flexor. I hope everyone found these stretches useful, and again, these are just meant to spend a little bit of time, decompress through your day, and get some nice long load hold stretches of those common muscles that are tight if we sit too much. So keep checking out some of the Copeman TV. There's been insanely great content posted, and we'll see you next time.